let's talk about Sunday Night Football. So the Steelers were up 16-7 at halftime of this game. It looked like everything was rolling for Pittsburgh. Aaron was going to have a great kumbaya story, beating his former team, the Green Bay Packers, albeit in Pittsburgh and not in Lambeau. And then at one point in the second half, Green Bay had outscored Pittsburgh 25-3. They scored on every possession in the second half. Jordan Love going up and down the field on that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And the question on the screen reads, was Sunday night's game more about the Steelers or the Packers? In my opinion, I believe this game was actually more about Pittsburgh and not on the defense side of the ball. I know everybody wants to say, oh my God, the Steelers have paid the most money on defense and this defense is terrible. Well, yeah, because they spent a lot of money on old corners. And Jalen Ramsey, who has not looked the same really since his Rams days when he won the Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 56. Darius Slay, who has not been the same since he won the Super Bowl last year with my Philadelphia Eagles. You have TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, who are not getting after the quarterback as consistently. But in my opinion, the reason for that is because of the offense. And early in the season, we praised Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, how they were getting the football out of his hands. They were to run the football effectively with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. And that is true. But you look really hard at who the Steelers have beaten this year. It's the Patriots, who it took them 5 fumbles to win that game. They beat the Jets week 1 in a shootout. They beat Minnesota without their offensive line and a banged-up Carson Wentz, and it took almost a miraculous Minnesota comeback. And then they beat the Browns, who can't move the ball on offense. So
No, they can't. The Browns are inept on offense. We'll get to that.
So to me, Pittsburgh, I know we're going to talk about the defense. Defense wins championships. They, outside of DK Metcalf, they do not have another reliable target down the field. Pratt Freiermuth has not been the same this year. They're running a lot of 3 and 4 tight end sets. It's very unconventional. To me, I know Steelers fans don't want to hear it, but they miss George Pickens. If they add both George Pickens and DK Metcalf to stretch the defense, then I believe the offense would look different. Aaron's getting rid of the ball because it's the way the plays are designed, because they cannot go down the field. And when their offense in the second half is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and you add the old defense on top of it, even though they're making a lot of money, that is what's happening in Pittsburgh, because they're getting exposed by good teams the same way they've been getting exposed by good teams since the last decade, because they have not won a playoff game in about a decade.
Okay, so before I directly answer the question on the screen, let me say this. Aaron Rodgers had the opportunity to join Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. I'm not sure. I think there's 1 or 2 other quarterbacks who have done it, to beat all 32 teams in the NFL. And he did not do it, obviously. But so I just wanted to point that part out, which I do find interesting. I love looking at those type of stories and stuff. Those are more of the stories that attract my attention. But
Montana, maybe Montana or Steve Young could be up there.
Yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 other names, but I know Drew Brees has done it. Tom Brady did it after he went into New England and beat the Patriots with the Buccaneers. And Peyton Manning has done it. I'd have to read up and see who else has. But aside from that, for me, this game actually says more about the Packers and specifically Jordan Love, because before the season, during our prediction show, I remember somebody here saying he was going to win MVP.
You are correct.
And after that Cleveland game, I remember we were both like, what is going on with him? And
that was the best game they played since the Washington game, easily.
Yes. And interestingly, we were like, when is the real Jordan Love going to stand up? Because we had the first two games with Detroit and Washington, and then he has that game against Cleveland where he throws a late interception. I don't know why, but it allowed the Browns to win. And he's had some mixed bad games since then. So for me, it says more about Jordan Love and the Packers because it seemed like he found his groove offensively again. You know, they were running the ball effectively, not just with Josh Jacobs, but also with Wilson. And you saw how that benefited them defensively. Micah Parsons was living in the Steelers' backfield. They had a very strong pass rush. And the Packers, for the most part, were playing very sticky man-to-man. I know they put in a bit of zone at times, but it seemed like they were mostly playing man-to-man.
And I think a lot of that, let me just add, because that was not the case in the first half. I think Green Bay went into the locker room and they made an adjustment. And they said, boys, these, as I alluded to earlier, these guys cannot throw the football down the field. Let's just press man. We'll live with it. They want to take a shot to DK Metcalf. We'll let them go all day. But we're going to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers because he's not comfortable when we get after him within the pocket. And Micah Parsons was playing a lot at middle linebacker, standing up over the center, not necessarily an edge. And they just took advantage of that Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line and decimated them in the second half.
Do you agree with what I'm saying about the Packers offense, though?
For sure. I think that Green Bay, Tucker Kraft was huge. I think the addition of bringing back Christian Watson was big, because the one thing I have yet to understand about the Packers offense this year is where the hell has their first-round wide receiver Matthew Golden been? He was almost invisible again on Sunday night. That, to me, has been the part of their offense has been missing. Maybe Christian Watson gives them that element back. But Jordan Love has these games where he is very Aaron Rodgers-esque in a way, where he has some games where he looks mid, but when he gets hot, he can get as hot as any NFL quarterback in the league. I mean, he did complete 20 straight passes, tying the record of Brett Favre for most in Packer history.
Yes. And ironically, until that game, the Packers had scored 27 points in their victories.
And we all know what that magic number means to them, because Brett was 27 when he won his only Super Bowl. Aaron was 27 when he won his only Super Bowl. And Jordan Love next Sunday will be turning that infamous age of 27 years old.
Yes. And of course, I have the Packers winning the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens. You have them losing the Super Bowl against Buffalo.
Correct. Well, you know, Josh, I'm sorry the pain that you had to endure in the 1 o'clock window on Sunday afternoon.
Watching what pain? I don't know what you're talking about.
You know how sad it is to be a Browns fan? I know you know. But I'm
okay, I'm just going to cut you off right here. I'm just going to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I have been trying for so long to defend Kevin Stefanski. You know how hard I've been defending him. But, like, Myles Garrett goes out and has a 5-sack performance against Drake May, who, by the way, I have number one in terms of my MVP candidates right now. Hot take, I don't even have Patrick Mahomes in my top 5 in terms of MVP votes right now. If you want, we can dive more into that. But
that'll be a next Tuesday discussion.
Okay. But, yeah, Myles Garrett goes out and has 5 sacks against Drake May, and you only muster 13 points.
Really 6. I mean, come on. Or 7. The touchdown at the end of the game was garbage time.
Oh, I know. I have a feeling that by the time we get to week 14, when the Browns host the Titans, Shador is going to be playing. It feels inevitable at this point.
I mean, he should be starting right after the bye week, but according to the head coach, it's going to be Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. I've been trying so hard to defend Stefanski, because of he's a 2-time coach of the year, got the Browns, into the playoffs twice. But each week, it feels like that argument is just eroding away. And I'm not quite at the level of we need to fire him, but my confidence level in him is quickly eroding. But here's my bigger thing. We gave Myles Garrett a huge extension over the offseason. Big mistake. We should have traded him. And even though he has a massive contract now, I get it. And he's the cornerstone of our franchise. I don't care. I am going to say it. We need to trade Myles Garrett. He is becoming the defensive version of what Joe Thomas was for the Browns. Here's what I mean. I get it. Joe Thomas went on to be one of the greatest offensive linemen in NFL history. Top 5. He played 10,000 consecutive snaps. He has a bust in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I understand all that. I acknowledge all that. But do you even realize that he only had one winning season, and that was his rookie year? I think we discussed this a couple weeks ago, Brandon.
The Browns went 10-7 and missed the playoffs because the Indianapolis Colts rested all their starters on a Sunday night against the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, that was back in 2007 when we played the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes. Derek Anderson had a career day. It was a blowout for the Browns, and you were waiting on Sunday night. And the Colts had already the number 1 seed locked up. There was speculation that maybe they might play because they don't want their guys rusty for 2 straight weeks. And they basically tanked a game if you can take a game in the NFL.
I think that was the 2007 season.
It was the 2007 season, and Vince Young was the starter for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. So that was the season where the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. Think about how many different head coaches Joe Thomas went through. Good God. Romeo Crennel, Eric Mangini, Rob Trzcinski, Mike Pettin, Hugh Jackson. I'm trying to think.
Pat Shermer, Freddie Kitchens, Greg Williams.
Yes. Think about how many different starting quarterbacks he had. Colt McCoy, Derek Anderson, Charlie Fry, Brandon Whedon. God, I'm going to throw up.
Brady Quinn.
Yeah. God, I'm going to throw up saying this name, but Johnny Football. Myles Garrett is going through the same damn thing. I know we've made the playoffs twice, but guess what? He's had to go through a number of different head coaches. Maybe not quite as extensive as Joe Thomas, but still.
Can I say one thing, though? The difference between both those guys? Myles Garrett made his decision. I don't feel bad for Myles Garrett at all. Myles Garrett could have stayed pat and said, no, I don't care how much money you want to throw at me, Andrew Berry. I demand a trade from the Cleveland Browns, and I will sit out the entire season until you trade me. Instead, Andrew Berry said, hey, Myles, how does $40 million a year, aka, I don't know, about $2 to $3 million per game, sound to you? Okay, that sounds great because we have this great plan at quarterback. Oh, yeah? What's that plan? Well, we're going to draft a 3rd-round quarterback who can't see over his offensive line, who's about 5 feet tall and can't complete a pass out of the end zone. And then we're going to draft a guy in the 5th round who should have went in the 1st round, but our coach can't stand him, so we're going to blackball him. Doesn't that sound like a great plan, Myles? And Myles said, where's my check? Where do I sign up? So I tried warning you this was going to happen before the season. They have talked, them being Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, more about a certain predator starting a football game this season.
Oh God!
More than they have about Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not telling a lie. So that to me, this organization is a complete joke. They need to start anew. Andrew Berry needs to go. Kevin Stefanski needs to go. If you can force Jimmy Haslam to sell the team, you force Jimmy Haslam to sell the team. This organization needs a Washington Commanders-esque complete clean out to scrub the dirt that's been on these two guys ever since really the end of the 2023 season, because they somehow took that momentum that Joe Flacco gave them where they made the playoffs to deciding that Deshaun Watson's our guy, which for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a rebellion from the locker room, if it was a rebellion from somewhere, but that decision to move to start Watson in the 2024 season has loomed over this franchise ever since, and it's not going to get better until everybody that was involved in that decision is completely removed.
Remember when I said last week, oh, the Browns could possibly get up to 8 wins? No.
So Dylan Gabriel, just put it in perspective for you, is third worst graded quarterback in the NFL this year, per Football Focus. Do you want to take a guess who the other two are?
God. Not Bryce. I'm going to say Bryce Young is not there. Tua.
No. This was going into Sunday, by the way, so it doesn't count how the Dolphins somehow beat the Falcons 34-3.
Okay. So Tua is not on there?
The other two quarterbacks, one of them is the number 1 overall pick in the draft, Cam Ward, who absolutely has no help whatsoever in Tennessee, and they need a complete reset of everything God knows hell in football. You want to know who the other one is?
Wait, Justin Fields.
No.
Even after his own owner threw him under the bus?
He's statistically better than Dylan Gabriel.
Okay, that's oh God. I've been trying to defend Dylan Gabriel too, because I loved what I saw out of him last season at the University of Oregon. Especially,
I did not. I told you. I thought he was a college quarterback, and that's about it. I knew he wasn't going to be a real NFL quarterback. Okay, the other one is Jake Browning.
Oh, good God.
So that's who Dylan Gabriel is ranked above. He's ranked above Jake Browning, and he's ranked above Cam Ward. That's it.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, God.
So, by the way, your number 1 receiver, Jerry Jeudy, 2 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Looks like he quit on the team to me. He looks like an absolute shell of himself of what he was last year. And he dealt with Watson and Snoop Huntley and who was the other guy? Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He actually caught balls from DTR last year, and Dylan Gabriel can't seem to see him.
Good God. That Week 10 game in New Jersey between the Cleveland Browns and the New Jersey Jets is going to be absolutely atrocious to watch.
Well, I mean, the Jets did somehow put up 37 points against the Bengals. I have no idea what the hell happened in that game.
By the way, before we get to that, rest in peace, Nick Mangold. Huge.
Absolutely.
That's a tremendous loss for the Jets organization. He was one of the best offensive linemen I've seen, especially at center. I think, wasn't he part of those 2 Jets teams that went?
He was the starter in both the 2009 and 2010 AFC Championship games.
That's what I thought. He unfortunately passed away on Sunday. So for the Jets to win that game against the Bengals, more power to them, honestly.
It did feel like destiny.